49ers quarterback Brock Purdy could be on the way back for week 11 and a whole lot more injury news, including no new injuries. Breaking is news for the San Francisco 49ers in this 2025 season on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the number one sports podcast network. So thank you to all the everydayers out there, and thank you to all the new listeners alike. Make sure you are subscribed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. It was a funny moment at for Kyle Shanahan talking to reporters on Monday afternoon, Croc, and giving his weekly, I don't even know what you call it, as a speech about all the injuries that are going on. And clearly we have a lot of notes to get to about some guys that could be potentially coming back for the 49ers. But I think the biggest thing is, and this is to quote Kyle Shanahan, I'm not totally believing it. I'm going to wait until Wednesday to make sure nothing creeps up. But as of now, there have been no new injuries from the Week 10 game for the San Francisco 49ers, which is something that I don't know if we've been able to say all season long. It's been something pretty big almost every single week. And, new things can pop up. But I think it's fair enough to say if a new injury happens Wednesday, that's a Week 11 injury. Week 10, the 49ers skated through for the first time all season.
That's exciting news, and you would much rather hear that news coming off of a win, that you get everybody back and you kind of build on that momentum. But with the 49ers are right now, you'll take whatever you can get, and they have a good opportunity over the next couple of weeks to play the Arizona Cardinals, which division opponents, always tough, and then the Carolina Panthers, which sometimes I feel like they decide to show up and play some good football. Other times, they're like, nope, we're the Panthers that you think we are. So nonetheless, that's a really good opportunity to kind of build off of getting all of your players back for the first time all season.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit later and what expectations should be here the rest of the season as we sit Week 11 now. And looking at the last 7 opponents in the regular season for the 49ers, can they get at 6-4? Can they get to that 10-win mark? Can they win 4 of 7? Can they go one game over 500 the rest of the way? I think that's good enough to get into the playoffs. And they'll be playing some teams that they're going to be battling for those wild card spots with too. So we'll talk a little bit about that coming up later on in the show after we get through some of the news and notes about the San Francisco 49ers. First of all, the good news, no new injuries. If there's a win for the 49ers in Week 10, it's that they didn't have any new players injured and are on the path to being a healthier football team in Week 11 than they were the week before, which is something that's been very difficult for this team to do. And no Brandon Ayuk again this week. It was teased that potentially his practice window could be open soon. Didn't happen last week. It is not happening this week either, according to Kyle Shanahan. So no Brandon Ayuk at practice this week, but there is expected to be a ramp up, more aggressive practices, according to Kyle Shanahan, for quarterback Brock Purdy. And he said that he wants 3 aggressive practices for Brock Purdy, meaning he'd like Purdy to be able to practice in full instead of being limited. And he's been only limited since he has been practicing from his turf toe injury. If he gets a full practice on Wednesday, I think that's going to be a pretty good indication that the 49ers are looking for him to be out there, and then he has to not re-injure himself and re-aggravate it and be able to come back and have a full practice again Thursday and Friday, and then you'll know that he has been aggressive enough and had a full practice, and it will be, once again, Brock Purdy out there quarterbacking the San Francisco 49ers, Croc. And do you think you expect to see a different Brock Purdy? Do you think Brock Purdy should be 100%? Because the other part of this is he's not expected to really be 100% with his turf toe. It's going to be something that's going to be there for him the rest of the year. And is a less mobile Brock Purdy a better player to put out there than what we've seen from Mac Jones so far, which has been pretty good?
Well, Mac Jones isn't the most mobile quarterback either, so it kind of evens the playing field between those two quarterbacks. Where if you have the mobility of Brock Purdy, it's like, hey, man, you got a better quarterback. If you take that away, they're very similar and different in certain areas. And, with his arm strength, accuracy, understanding of the offense. And we've heard a lot of guys from the 49ers talk about the level that Brock Purdy runs the offense too, right? I think it was George Kittle. He's talked very highly on that topic. Trent Williams, him as well. So I think it evens the playing field, but is Brock as good when you take some of that mobility away? And what we've seen so far, where he kind of nicked up here and there, or maybe can't drive or push off of his throws, you see a different version of Brock that maybe kind of falls below that line of what you want him to be. So I would say I like the idea of approaching it by saying, hey, we need to see 3 aggressive days in a row. And maybe he's not 100%, but if maybe early in the season when he came back a little too soon against Jacksonville, he was about 50%. Can you get him closer to 80%? And what does that look like? And if that's good enough, then you get your franchise quarterback back out there.
Yeah, for me, the thing is, look, a little bit less mobile Brock Purdy. He's still going to run the offense at a level that, according to George Kittle, is the highest level that he's ever seen a quarterback run Kyle Shanahan's offense while he's been there. And so that's why, Brock Purdy's still the guy. And I expect Brock Purdy to be a good quarterback and maybe have, even if he's not as mobile, the big thing for me would be, do you feel like there's a chance, a realistic chance that he's going to be hurting himself more? What the 49ers should not have done is put him out there against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It ended up being a loss anyway. He was clearly not himself, and then he re-aggravates the injury, and then it puts him out for even more weeks to the point where he probably would be potentially 100% right now, instead of it being a situation where maybe he's not even going to be 100% all year now, ever. And you definitely don't want to put Brock Purdy in a spot where we're still talking about turf toe in March, right? In May OTAs. They're like, oh, Brock Purdy, turf toe. Like, that shouldn't be a turf toe should not be two words that come up with Brock Purdy as it pertains to his 2026 season. So if that's something that could happen with Brock Purdy going out there, then it's not time for him to go out there yet. That's the way I look at it. I don't know if the 49ers look at it the same way, but if he's able to get a full practice, and it sounds like he's going to be out there for the 49ers this week. So some optimism there, getting the guy back. And Croc, some more optimism as it pertains to Ricky Pearsall, who's been injured clearly a lot longer than what they expected with his PCL, his knee injury. And they expect to get him back at practice Wednesday as well, along with Brock Purdy. Will it be a full practice? Will it be a limited practice? Not sure there yet. And according to Shanahan, quote, my note here says, and this is Shanahan quoting somebody from his medical staff and training staff. He says, my note here says, quote, Ricky with his knee should be back into practice on Wednesday, end quote. So that was the note he got from someone on the training staff. And then the rest of Kyle Shanahan's quote is, so hopefully the next 2 days go good. If they do, then he'll be back out there. I think he had a good weekend is what that means. So basically, the side work that Ricky Pearsall was doing with the training staff over the weekend went well, and they are expecting to see him back on the practice field Wednesday. We'll see if that actually happens, and we'll see what form of practice Pearsall gets in, if it's more limited, or if he does start to get a full session in. If he has a full session by Friday, I would assume he's going to be back out there for the 49ers at wide receiver. So potentially Purdy and Pearsall back, if no Brandon Ayuk this week.
I think that's awesome news. You need guys that are going to make timely plays and be where they need to be at key moments. And the more you get guys like him back that just truly understand exactly where he has to be and how high of a level he's functioning in the offense, get him back on the field ASAP. So you miss him. And out there, you've got guys that have had some games. Got Juwan Jennings started out very well last game. Obviously, getting George Kittle back, see the efficiency there. Catching 9 passes on 9 targets. Kendrick Bourne, he had a couple of big games, right? Back-to-back games, going for 142 yards. But as of late, kind of tapered off a little bit. And I think that's to be expected of a guy that's kind of, you signed late, coming off the street and whatnot. There's a little inconsistency there. So get Pearsall back. That gives you a guy that is capable of bringing more consistency to the offense. So, yeah, I'm excited to get him back, and hopefully it is this week.
Next, I know the 49ers didn't do a lot at the trade deadline, and we've had a lot of conversations about that. We may continue to have some conversations about that because we keep getting questions and comments about that from our listeners. But the 49ers might make a post-deadline addition a really good football player and a very familiar name to, I'm sure, a lot of fans, was in for a workout with the 49ers on Monday. We'll get into that and some adjusted expectations for the 49ers down the stretch next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS, software as a service, promised to make work easier. But now the average company is buried in hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's SAD, software as a disservice. So that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of, and look, we've all been there. It can be a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Bring your employees, teams, and departments together in one system. Rippling removes the bottlenecks, the busy work, and silos your software created. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. So learn more at Rippling, rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, and the NBA back. And there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you miss the start of a game, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Makes every game so much more exciting. And you can even combine those live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. And not only is exciting, but especially when your team is the one making that late push. And we know in the NBA, every team makes a run at some point. And so why not be a part of that run and get in on the action with the same game parlay, live in-game betting? You've got live in-game betting on the NFL, weekly lines, player props, season-long props, you name it. You can find it no matter the sport at FanDuel. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Asante Samuel Jr. I know he's a player that a lot of 49ers fans and draft nicks liked for the 49ers in that 2020 draft.
It was the Aaron Banks, Trey Lance, 2021.
2021 draft, early second round pick, right? Asante Samuel Jr. He had pretty serious injury. It was a neck fusion injury, I believe, or surgery to fix his neck. And Kyle Shanahan said that bringing him in was to, quote unquote, see where he's at as he comes off an injury. So essentially, it feels like Asante Samuel Jr., it wasn't so much that he's trying to go sign with the first team that he has a tryout with. This is almost like pre-draft pro day stuff, where you go team visits. He's just trying to show the league that he's healthy and back and ready to go. And so, we'll see once he tries out, and it's a number of teams. It feels like, I saw a list of, it felt like a dozen teams. I don't know exactly how many teams Asante Samuel Jr. is trying out with, but an interesting player. He's been a good player and could be a nice addition for the San Francisco 49ers on the back end if they feel like they need somebody, and it would probably be somebody that you're not signing just for this year. They might be signing someone into the future, like a futures type deal, and it wouldn't cost a lot of money either. So I like the idea of it if Asante Samuel Jr., if his neck checks out and he looks like a player, the player that he used to be. It'd be a nice addition for the San Francisco 49ers defense.
Yeah, I think if the fans want to help the secondary, I don't think it's going out and getting Asante Samuel Jr. right now. I think it would be getting a pass rusher, which obviously very difficult to get at this point. Not a guy out there that's going to make the impact that you ideally would need. But that's how you help the secondary. I do believe that they have a player in-house right now that can maybe ease some of the blows that the 49ers have faced, at least on the back end, and that's Chase Lucas. Like when he's been in, he's done a really good job. And every time, I kept seeing him on the sideline yesterday, just kind of standing there. Now, I would try to find different ways to get Chase Lucas on the field. He's made a lot of big plays. He's been involved in a lot of good stuff for the 49ers. I understand, having some of the young fellas out there on the defensive backfield guys that you are definitely looking to develop. But Chase Lucas, I think he's the guy that can really help the 49ers right now.
All Chase Lucas done since camp and preseason is just play well every time he's on the field, makes plays, got some energy. And I'm with you on that. And, I don't think that it's Upton Stout has the nickel job. So where do you play Chase Lucas is the question. Do you bench Upton Stout? Teams are kind of looking number 20's way. I think Stout mostly is held up okay, despite being targeted a lot, being a rookie in the secondary and a rookie nickel defender at that is a tough ask. Maybe do they split some snaps between those guys? They find some other ways to get Chase Lucas involved in the game. I'm with you on that. And it makes me think of Nick Martin and a lot of fans that were clamoring for Nick Martin to be on the field. It's surprising they couldn't even find some snaps for Nick Martin at the very end of the game in garbage time either, right? And, we talked about Kittle being out there late and McCaffrey being out there late, and 49ers have a different idea of when garbage time is, I think, than a lot of people. So that might be part of it. But, clearly
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt in that game. It did feel like they were one stop away, and they continued to be one stop away until they weren't, which was at the very end of the game. So
yeah,
I'm not opposed to them not playing in that game.
There's been some argument amongst fans and people coming at me saying that strong side linebacker and weak side linebacker are exactly the same. They're interchangeable in the 49ers defense. So Nick Martin should be out there because Luke Gifford's garbage, right? And I've pushed back on it. It's not interchangeable. Some players can play multiple positions at linebacker, but kind of like nickel and outside corner. It's kind of like slot and outside wide receiver. Ideally you would like everyone to be able to know all the spots and be able to play all the spots. But just a couple of weeks ago, Robert Saleh was asked about it. He's like, Nick Martin's a weak side backer. And clearly there's some crossover. They're off ball linebackers. You would think a guy would be able to go in there and play it. But I just want to repeat to fans, don't expect Nick Martin to be out there. They clearly don't trust him enough to be even the backup to Winters, because Curtis Robinson's the guy that came in for Winters when he left the lineup. He's not going to put the green dot on at middle linebacker unless there's an injury at middle linebacker, and then that might be also Curtis Robinson, from what we've seen. And Luke Gifford's 20 pounds heavier than Nick Martin. That's the strong side backer spot. You're on the strong side. You're lined up with an extra blocker over there in the run game, and so that's just not the spot that I expect to see Nick Martin playing, especially if he hasn't practiced it. So it's different enough to have a different name of the position, and so Nick Martin might just be a little ways away. And I would like to see him out there because he flashed in the preseason, but I think it's more about trust and his understanding of where to be and their trust that he's going to be exactly where they need him to be. And it might be a lot like with D Winters, who it took him a little while. It took Winters until year 3 to really start to look like that guy. And hopefully it happens for Nick Martin sooner. But clearly he's not in the plans right now today, and I would expect him not to be out there for Luke Gifford at strong side linebacker.
I think for a lot of the fan base, they think that the linebacker position and plugging guys into certain things is like Madden, right? Madden, if you have a linebacker, probably going to be good, weak side, strong side, Mike. And there may be like a little bit of tweak or adjustment in some of his attributes, but for the most part, he'll be able to manage. Guys have different skill sets in real life. And not just different skill sets, but different responsibilities. Your even your D line, right? Like your D line, there's really a strong side and a weak side. The back end, sometimes you have a boundary corner and a field corner, and those guys have different responsibilities depending on the coverage and the formation that they're facing. So if you have a weak side backer and he knows, hey, I'm in the game, weak side to this formation, I do this. And whatever he does, his skill set puts him in the position to do that at a high level. You start tweaking that, maybe you don't get the same version of that player that you're trying to get, especially for a guy who is less experienced than everybody else that's out there, which can make it more difficult. So if they're looking at him as like, look, right now, this is what he is, and he's not more than this right now because he doesn't have quite the experience, then you have to ride with whatever he is. And hopefully when he gets his opportunity, he's ready and prepared for it. But I don't think it's as easy as it is like it is on Madden to just plug a linebacker in a spot because, well, he plays the linebacker position.
And as far as Luke Gifford goes, clearly the 49ers like him, brought him in to play special teams and start at that strong side linebacker spot this year. And to my knowledge, haven't been practicing Nick Martin anywhere other than the will spot, the weak side linebacker spot. And the other thing that fans are looking at is Gifford getting torched by different tight ends and in the passing game. And that's not his strength, clearly. But I will say also, as a linebacker, that's the toughest thing you transition from college to the NFL, where in college, you're just an athlete and you can go run and hit all day long. In the NFL, you have to be able to, it's more than being athletic to cover is the way I want to put it, right? Just because Nick Martin's fast, and he is fast and super athletic, that doesn't mean he's immediately going to be really great in coverage.
Right.
So expect more Luke Gifford out there. Curtis Robinson, maybe. Let's see Curtis Robinson out there. And if Curtis Robinson turns out to be better at the strong side spot than Luke Gifford, then if there's an injury to D. Winters, maybe then Martin would be the weak side backer because you need Robinson to play some strong side backer. So maybe that's Nick Martin's path to playing, is benching Gifford, but not necessarily benching him for Martin, benching him for Curtis Robinson. And then that gives you an opportunity to see Nick Martin out there on the field. But otherwise, I expect to see more Gifford, and I still don't expect to see Nick Martin at linebacker. And the 49ers are going to have to roll with what they have on the defensive line as well, because they did not make an addition at the deadline. And now looking at the way this team played Sunday in week 10, should we adjust expectations from week 11 through 18? Let's take a look at the schedule, Croc, next.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it, because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Brought to you by Doer, and I've taken every chance I can to tell the listeners about my Doer jeans. They're the most comfortable jeans I own. They also happen to look the best as well. I'm going to stop one step short of saying that they've been life-changing, but they have been involved in my life quite a bit, whether I'm running errands, whether I'm working, whether I'm going out to dinner and drinks, going to a sporting event, go to a concert, whatever it is. Most times I do have my Doer jeans on, but I went to see Marcus and the staff at the brand new store in Hayes Valley in San Francisco. You could go there and check out the Doer jeans for yourself at 567 Hayes Street. And when I was there, I found out about a thing called the no sweat pants. And Croc, the no sweat pants are kind of like cheating, because the Doer jeans are still jeans, even though they're 5 times the stretch of traditional denim, and they can kind of feel like athletic wear. They're so easy to wear for jeans. They're still jeans, but the no sweat pants are cheating because they look like regular pants, like real pants, but they feel like just straight up sweats, and they're pretty awesome. And I love wearing those. And sometimes you can wear them in some situations where you should not be wearing sweats, but they don't even look like sweats, and they're super comfortable. So again, check out the store, 567 Hayes Street in San Francisco, and mention our promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. So, Croc, seeing how the team played in week 10, seeing how they've played in other weeks, and in some cases exceeded our expectations, and in some cases have really succumbed to some of the lack of talent that they've lost from the injury bug that has bit them all over the roster, specifically, Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, the two that are really hard to overcome. And then you look at the run defense and the Mykel Williams one. It's like, man, okay, I would have thought that Mykel Williams and having some bigger defensive ends to stop the run like Cleveland Farrell in there and like Keon White. And maybe since they haven't been around, maybe, it was just they weren't quite playing the run in the right manner like Mykel Williams, but it felt like Mykel Williams was actually a bigger loss than I expected, even though he hasn't been a big part of the pass rush for the 49ers throughout his rookie year. But knowing all of that and knowing that the 49ers might get some guys back, Purdy, Pearsall, who knows, maybe even Ayuk at some point. What are the expectations going forward? The 49ers are 6-4 right now after 10 weeks. They're going to have a pretty late bye, week 14 bye. So still 3 more games before the bye week. And those 3 games are the Arizona Cardinals, the Carolina Panthers, and the Cleveland Browns. Then the 49ers have a bye week. And I would think that you would see Ayuk at least for the last 4 games, right? Week 15, 16, 17, and 18. Can you have a healthy offense? Imagine Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy throwing to him against the Tennessee Titans in week 15, the Indianapolis Colts week 16, Chicago Bears week 17, and the Seattle Seahawks in week 18. Now, the Browns, they lost to the Jets this week. The Browns went from a 6% chance to a 27% chance to own the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Might see Shedeur Sanders in that game. I don't know. But the Browns are a mess. And as long as you do what you can to block Myles Garrett and not get whoever your quarterback is killed in that game, that should be a winnable football game for the 49ers. The Cardinals and the Seahawks, division matchups, we can talk about those a lot. But Indianapolis Colts, they have the best record. They're on the opposite side of the Cleveland Browns, Croc. They have the best record in the NFL. But again, you lose to the Colts, that's probably the game you would want to lose most if you're the 49ers, because that losing to an AFC opponent doesn't hurt your tiebreakers in the NFC like the division or the conference games do. So I want to point to Croc, and again, the Tennessee Titans is another winnable game. If you're losing to the Browns and the Titans, you don't belong in the playoffs, period, if you're the 49ers. But I want to point to the Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bears, Croc. The Panthers are a 5-5 football team. They've been able to run the ball really well this season. Some of the other things I'm still very skeptical about, but they've still won 5 games and they're in second place in their division behind the Bucs, and not that far behind the Bucs. I think the Bucs are 6-4 now as well. And then the Chicago Bears, who are, I believe they've had their bye, so they're 6-3 right now, Croc. And that's week 17. Bears 49ers in week 17 might be for the 7th seed in the playoffs. It might be winner gets a wild card spot, Croc. Bears Niners week 17 might be a real good one.
Well, as things are going right now, especially when you go up one more week and you have the Seattle Seahawks on the schedule, we'll see where they're at. Right now, you got Seattle and the Rams tied at 7-2 in the division. Again, team's first and foremost, your goal is, and you got to win your division. So that's really tight. What you're hoping for right now as a 49er is that heading into that game, maybe Seattle has the division locked up. Now, you would love the 49ers to be competing. Maybe those teams drop a couple games. But as it looks right now, the Seahawks, they're kind of rolling a little bit. Can they play their in that game because they have the division locked up?
Yeah.
If that's the case, when you look at the Bears game, that's going to be, I mean, there's going to be a lot of must wins for the 49ers, but definitely that game must win. And the weird thing about the Bears and a couple other games on that schedule, you would look at that before the season starts and be like, oh, 49ers, really good chance to just finish super strong. And now you look at it and it's like, the Colts, they're kind of good. The Bears, not playing bad. And watching Caleb Williams, he's doing some things that aren't quite showing up in the stat sheet. Like there's some near throws that he's attempting. Like when he's rolling out, he's getting on the move, putting pressure on defense, and he's flinging the ball on the move 40 yards in the air, like on a rope into like a tight spot to the defense where like either his guy gets it or nobody gets it. And then it's like, it's incomplete. But I can see for the 49ers with the bad luck they've had this season, him do that a couple times and then go in the Bears' favor. So that's something that is really hard to account for, his playmaking ability. He ran for 68 yards Sunday afternoon. Played very well, made some throws to where it brought them back and they won a football game. So the Bears are a team where you felt going in like, Caleb Williams, is he a bust? Not playing very well. People start writing them off. And all of a sudden, man, week by week, it's like, man, look at the Bears. They're doing kind of good. So that is going to be a huge game. And the cool thing for the 49ers, that game will be on primetime television. The Colts, another primetime television game for the 49ers. That's going to be an interesting one as well because Daniel Jones not playing bad football, and Jonathan Taylor may be the MVP vote leader right now with the way that he's running out of the backfield.
And I do predict the 49ers are going to be playing for something week 17, week 18. Are they playing for the division? Is it Seahawks Niners for the division? Rivalry uniforms, right? They'll be wearing the all black uniforms. Can they play spoiler? Knock the Seahawks out of first place. Maybe help out the Rams in that case that are going to win the division. Maybe the Rams have it sewn up. Niners and Seahawks are fighting for a wild card spot. But I do think those games are going to really matter. Division games, division record tiebreaker, conference tiebreaker, Bears, Seahawks, week 17 and 18. And look, man, 2 of those games, you got to win 4 games. I'm putting it out there. You got to get 10 wins. You got to win 4 games. 2 of those, Browns, Titans. You got to be able to win those 2 games. So all you need now, Croc, down the stretch is 2 more games. And I get they didn't do anything at the trade deadline. Would Bradley Chubb or Jermaine Johnson have made the difference between a team that's on the cusp of getting the 7 seed in the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I think the 49ers still have an opportunity to get the Super Bowl. You need 2 wins. If you give us the Cleveland game and the Tennessee Titans game, I want to hear from the listeners. Give us those 2 games. Okay. You only need 2 more. You got to beat the Cardinals and the Panthers. You got to beat the Panthers and the Bears. You got to beat Seattle and Arizona, the division games. You've already beat each of those teams once this year. You need 4 games. 2 of those better be winnable against Cleveland and Tennessee, and you only need 2 more games out of Carolina, Arizona, Chicago, and Seattle. And you're a playoff team. And I think with what the 49ers have been, as injured as they've been, I think that's a really good season for the 49ers. And I think it's still totally achievable. So tough loss. And I know the immediacy of it. It feels bad for 49ers fans, especially against Los Angeles, especially getting beat as bad as they did, 42-26, and how easy it was against the 49ers defense. The offense should get better with some players coming back. This team can win 4 more games. And I think it'll be fun down the stretch.
Yeah, they can, man. But right now, the 49ers have given up more points than they've scored. They got to flip that.
They did. Going into week 10, the NFC West was the only division in football that everybody was a plus. Even the Cardinals were plus point differential. Not the case anymore after a couple of beatdown performances of both the Cardinals and the Niners. Both teams trying to bounce back in week 11. We're going to turn the page as we do usually on the Weeky Wednesday. All the news for you, everything going on with the San Francisco 49ers. Anything you want us to get into, let us know at BD Peacock, at Coach Crocky in the YouTube comments. Of course, subscribe while you are there. And I want to thank everybody once again for making Locked On 49ers your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network.